So what I got for you guys today is the Viltrox 15mm f1.7 air lens. Now I'm using this on the Sony a6700 and currently also using the DJI RS4 mini gimbal for this quick woods walkthrough here. But what's great about the 15mm is it's got the fast 1.7 aperture, so you can see how blurry the background is, and it also is wide enough for walking and vlogging like this. You get that pretty fairly wide angle look, which I really like when using it in a situation like this. Also, this lens goes for $239, which is crazy cheap, and it's extremely sharp. The contrast, I have tons of landscape sample photos with this lens, and again, very impressed. In addition, when it comes to vlogging, this lens only weighs 6 ounces, so it's extremely lightweight. So it makes it a little easier to handhold like this, even though my shoulder is still getting tired because of the gimbal and everything. But still, 6 ounces is extremely lightweight, so I'm impressed by that. By the way, guys, I'm recording in 24p 4K using S-Log 3 and auto white balance, in case you're wondering if the white balance is shifting around or whatever. Now, this lens actually has a 58mm filter thread, and I really should be using an ND filter right now, but I'm not, because I don't want any of that weird flaring and stuff that happens when I'm testing the lenses out. So I like to do it without an ND filter most of the time, just for optical clarity. But the shutter speed is definitely way too fast. So 58mm is what you're going to need, and I'll actually have recommended variable ND filters down below if you guys are interested. Super helpful in situations like this, because you really want the shutter speed to be double the frame rate. So right now I'm at 1/2000th of a second, which is not that good. So it's going to look a little bit choppy, possibly, you might notice. But honestly, it's not as noticeable as you might think, but once you see it, you can kind of notice that the shutter speed is not correct. So this lens is going to be approximately 22.5mm effective when, comparing it to full frame. So 15mm, that's what that works out to. This lens also has a really good 9.1 inch minimum focus distance, so you should be focusing on my eye pretty good here. And the last feature that matters on this lens, to me anyways, for the most part, is the stepping motor for the autofocus. So it's very quiet and I can't hear it at all when recording. So that's really nice for vlogging purposes as well, especially if you're in a quiet situation. You don't want to hear that lens pulsing when it's focusing and stuff. What's going on, guys? So here's what 15mm looks like, because I wanted to show you 15mm versus 9mm. So as you can see, this is what 9mm looks like, and you can see the machine looks way smaller than it did a second ago, and you have more foreground and sky and things like that. So 9mm versus 15, pretty drastic on the crop factor cameras like the Sony a6700. All right, so looking at it in the hands here, you can see just how small this lens is. It's got the pinch style lens cap, which I always prefer and like. And here again, you can see it's the 58mm filter thread on the front lens here. Now the lens hood is quite tight actually out of the box, so you kind of have to wrench it on a little bit. It works fine, but it's just a little bit tight. I'm sure it'll loosen up with use. And the focus ring on this is also a little bit tight, but it does feel smooth. So it's nice and smooth, but just a little bit tighter than I would prefer, ideally. Now there's pretty much nothing else on this. There's no autofocus switch, nothing like that. And on the back here, we have a nice hardened aluminum bayonet here. And you can see the USB-C for firmware updates as well, which is quite nice. So overall, I would say the build quality on this is very good considering the extremely low cost of this lens. So just to quickly compare to the 9mm, this is the 9mm. You could see it's pretty much the same size, the 9mm f2.8. Now it does have a slightly different front lens element there. It's more bulbous, you could see, compared to this one. It's just a bigger, more bulbous, which makes sense. 9mm, it's much wider. But the lens weight is pretty much about the same. The 9mm is 175 grams, whereas the 15mm is 180 grams. So there's a 5 gram difference there. And they have pretty much the same lens hood. same 58mm front filter thread. The 9mm, however, has 7 aperture blades compared to 9 aperture blades on the faster aperture 15mm lens here. So that is the one key difference. In addition, the 9mm has the HD lens coatings on there, where the 15mm, it doesn't advertise that it has that. So it might help with contrast and things like that with a wider angle lens. I'm assuming that's why they put that extra coating on the 9mm. The 9mm goes for about $199, and the 15mm goes for about $239 US. And the 15mm is available in Nikon, Fuji, and Sony, whereas the 9mm at the time of this video is only available for Sony and Nikon. Now, both of these lenses have really good minimum focus distances, which is nice. The 15mm is about 9 inches, and the 9mm is about 5 inches. So you can get really close to your subjects and get nice blurry backgrounds, which is a lot of fun. And also, the fast aperture is great for low light photography. So the ISO will be quite a bit lower in low light scenarios with an f1.7 lens versus an f2.8 lens or a slower f4 lens, for example. That's going to force your ISO on the camera to be much higher in lower light situations. So that's another advantage to that fast aperture. So let me just show you what this looks like mounted up to the A6700 here. This is what I used for the review. And as you can see here, this is what it looks like mounted up to the camera. And it's a nice fit. You know, it's a really good balanced design. It's pretty much all camera. The lens doesn't weigh much at all. So it's very low burden in that regard. And looks pretty good too. You know, it matches the camera quite nice. So I just want to show you what this looks like in the studio quick. Alright, so here you can see in the studio. Now I am recording in S-Log3 because that's what I use in the studio. I'm also recording with the A7 IV behind me in S-Log3, and that's using the 35mm. So I have a 35mm on the A7 IV back there. And again, now you're looking at 15mm, which is an effective 22.5. And the camera is right in front of me, as you can see here. So 15mm in the studio is great for a crop factor camera. And again, the f1.7 will get you fairly blurry backgrounds depending on how close the camera is. So if I move this closer, you can see the background is obviously going to get a little bit more blurry as the depth of field, you know, changes. But I would probably have it more like here. You know, for my use case, I kind of like this style framing, just myself personally. You can see it's very similar to the 35mm framing on the full frame camera, but that camera's further away. So now, as good as this 15mm f1.7 lens is, the Sony 15mm f1.4G lens is far superior as far as that punchy contrast goes. It is kind of a night and day difference. I did a video on this quite a while back where I compared a whole bunch of lenses, and I'll have that linked below, guys. But the Sony 15mm f1.4 was one of the lenses I used. And when you saw it go from like a lens like this to that, you can definitely see a boost in contrast, like that micro contrast. So just wanted to throw that out there, you know what I mean? But that lens is a lot more money than this lens. So there is levels to this game, you know what I mean? But again, value to the dollar, this Viltrox is a great option. That Sony lens is way more expensive, probably 4 times the price. You know, money does come into play when it comes to stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. But again, the value to dollar of this lens is remarkable, and I really like the lightweight compact size as well. I had to show you what the 9mm looks like. So again, you could see just how crazy wide this is. Try to get the desk a little straighter there. So 9mm is crazy wide compared to the 15mm, as you can see here. Food for thought, guys, as far as how much you want to see in your environment. Remember, I showed you the machine earlier in the woods, and 15mm versus 9. I mean, the 9mm brings in so much more of the environment, and it just makes it more vast. Like, it brings the viewer into the scene quite a bit more depending on what kind of story you're trying to tell. So again, if you want to see more of my studio, the 9mm is a way better option for the crop factor camera as opposed to the 15mm, which gives you that more tight headshot, you know, framing, which makes, in my mind anyways, the viewer focus more on, you know, me talking, you know, like listening sort of thing. It gets rid of that distracting background. But again, it just depends on what you guys are up to. So anyways, now let's move on to some sample photos. All right, guys, so here we are in Adobe Lightroom, and I just wanted to show you some of these sample photos that I got with this crazy affordable Viltrox lens. Now, here's my buddy's food truck here, Up in Smoke. Great. It's over in Middletown, New York, if you guys are familiar with the area. And it's over by the Route 6 and 17M intersection there. But great barbecue. And he asked me to take a photo of the food truck here. So this lens was perfect for this style shot, in my opinion. Came out good. Now, I recently got this new machine, and this was when I went and actually looked at it first. So I just took a couple of snapshots while it was at the gentleman's house. And you can see this lens does a great job. It's so wide that it just makes the machine look a little cooler because it exaggerates the size of it a little bit. And I thought these photos came out great. This machine is so fun, I gotta say. Incredible. Incredible how much fun it is. But anyways, so again, as far as landscapes go, here's a couple. So this was at f7.1 here, 7.1. You could see up here on the top left is the EXIF data. And here's just another image here. I thought this was kind of cool because the sun was poking through, you know, the fog there. Now, I also took some HDR photos, which means multiple exposures at different exposure values, and then you can actually combine them to create an HDR like this photo here. So this is one frame from just raw file, and then I combined it to create this. So here's the other raw file. So it's this one, and this one basically make up this shot here. I got another one here. You could see this house up here. This is a raw file as well, so I combined a bunch of those and got this frame here. And I really like the way the water blends when you take HDR photos. It creates a nice effect on the water. So here's just a few more. I just wanted to show you here. And again, I really like the way the water looks when the exposures are combined with the correct shutter speed. So it was about 1/5 of a second, you could see. So right around there seems to produce the best water look. It also depends on how fast the water is flowing. But in this environment, I think like right around 1/5, 1/8, 1/13 of a second gives a nice flow to detail ratio when it comes to HDR and water. Here's just another one. I love how the erosion causes these like circles and stuff in the stone. It's just another one. This is actually a panoramic, so I combined the bottom and the top to get a square image. Here's just another one. I haven't seen the river this low in years, so the layering of the rocks I thought was really cool. Here's one more. This is a mostly water shot. And here's just a couple of more. I got really close to this stone here so you can see the detail. And I stopped it down to f16 so you can see the detail is really good from the foreground all the way to the background. One more. Now here's just one of like these underneath the highway. And this is also an HDR. Now here's just a raw file. I just wanted to show you this so you could see the, you know, distortion control. It's actually very well controlled on this lens. Now here's one down at the Green Bridge, and I just wanted to show you this. This is actually at f2.8 aperture, and you can see the detail is actually very, very good on this lens. Now here's one shooting into the sun. I stopped down to f16 to try to get like a star flare effect, and you can see how that renders. Looks quite good in my opinion, shooting right into the sun like that. Now shooting down here on the railing, you can see extremely sharp. This is at f16. Just wanted to show you the f16 because then I have an f1.7 here. So you could see this is also extremely sharp, but the depth of field fall off, you know, is very noticeable at f1.7. Let me just show you f16 one more time so you can see now all that detail. It's like you could see the foreground, the bridge detail, the background information. When you switch to this, it's like the railing just pops off the page there. Now here's just one looking down the bridge, and I focused right here for maximum depth of field play. Now here's just one looking down the river. I was pretty happy with this result. Looks pretty good. Here's another one looking through the railing. Now here's just one of my car. I focused on my car so you could see how blurry the foreground rock looks and how it renders. And you can see even the background's a little bit soft back there. So this is at f1.7. Now here's one from actually Washington State out at the Kando event. Just looking down out of the balcony. And I thought this actually looked really cool. This might actually look cool in black and white. It's got so many lines and texture. Here's just one look out the window. Couple more snapshots here. We stopped down at this farm for the final dinner night here. A lot of really cool people at this event, to say the least. This guy was just playing in the middle of a field, but the lighting was actually beautiful. at this hour, golden hour. You can see this lens does have some significant vignetting in certain scenarios, and that's the darkening of the corners. You might recognize this gentleman as the famous Mark Bennett, Camera Crisis. It's cool, like landscape slash portrait. Now, I just wanted to show you a couple of shots with the 9mm. I don't have a comparison, but I just wanted to show you 9mm inside the bridge here, and it's just so wide. It will get you like more exaggerated results than the 15mm. Just as an example, here's another one in the machine, and this is at 9mm, and you can see if I go back to 15mm, this is 15mm, and you can see it looks good. It doesn't look too exaggerated. But 9mm, you can see the machine looks even wider, like the wheels look stretched, and it makes it look more impressive, kinda, in some ways. So that's kind of what you get when you use an ultra wide angle versus a regular wide angle. It gives you like that exaggerated look. So again, this is like as wide as I would want to go without it looking exaggerated. But with the exaggerated look, it kind of, you could argue it looks cooler, but in some people's minds it just looks distorted. So again, I just wanted to give you guys a visual of that. And here's one more, again, 9mm. You can see how distorted this looks. But still, it looks pretty cool, you know. It doesn't look bad or anything, but... So this is just in case you guys are on the fence between should I invest in the 9mm or the 15mm sort of thing. That's why I'm showing you guys this stuff for those particular in that situation. Now here in the lab scene, you could see the lens is very sharp. It's not like razor blade, like ludicrous sharp or anything, but it's definitely very sharp, and it does a really good job controlling the purple fringing and stuff like that. And you can see even down here, the image is very sharp at f1.7. You can see the bokeh ball renderings are quite good as well, nice and round. And that depth of field play is quite nice. Now here, I just stopped it down to f2.8. You can see Buddy down here. So here's 2.8. You can see the bokeh ball rendering still looks quite good. The 9-blade aperture. And here's just one more at the minimum focus distance of the quarter. So this is at f1.7. And this is at f2.8. All right, guys, so that about wraps up this review of the Viltrox 15mm f1.7 lens, and it was a lot of fun to use. It's a very affordable lens, and the lightweight compactness makes it great for gimbal use and just walking around. It's not like a burden to carry because it's not heavy, even though it has a fast f1.7 aperture, which is quite nice. So, all right, if you guys can give me a thumbs up, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. And down below, I'll have everything linked. They are affiliate links, so I really appreciate the support. In addition to that, Viltrox did send me this lens so I could make a review and stuff for it, but there was no money exchanged or anything like that. This is not a sponsored video, and if my videos are sponsored ever, I will absolutely tell you that right in the beginning of the video. So just keep that in mind, guys. This is not sponsored. So anyways, all right, guys, I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care.